This episode, we take you to Phu Kradueng, one of Thailand's most beloved national parks. It is a place of beauty, a mountain covered in pine forests, waterfalls, and meadows that turn gold in the morning light. Every year, thousands of visitors make the climb, chasing views that stretch beyond the horizon. But behind its beauty lies a darker reputation. For decades, people have whispered about strange and sudden deaths on the mountain. Hikers who collapse without cause, tourists who vanish from trails, campers who never wake again. Some say these are accidents of nature, the price of challenging the climb. Others insist the mountain itself chooses who may stay and who must leave. Tonight, we walk the paths of Phu Kradueng, where beauty and death walk side by side. Phu Kradueng sits in Lui Province, in Thailand's northeast, a mountain that rises more than 1,000 meters into the sky. For generations, it has been more than just a natural wonder. It is seen as sacred. Elders say the spirits of the mountain are powerful and protective, watching carefully over all who enter. Travelers who come must show respect, for the mountain is not only stone and trees, but a living presence. The journey to the top is not an easy one. The trail winds for nearly 6 kilometers, steep and grueling, with switchbacks that test endurance. At the base, visitors light incense before climbing, asking for safe passage. Guides warn newcomers to carry light, avoid mocking the spirits, and to keep to the paths. Yet even with these traditions, tragedy has marked the mountain's history. Reports of hikers who die suddenly have been whispered for decades. A young man once collapsed on the trail, his body giving out without illness or injury to explain it. A group of students camping near a waterfall woke to find one of their friends unresponsive, as if sleep had claimed him forever. Some tourists never returned at all, their bodies found later in ravines or not found at all. Authorities often list natural causes, exhaustion, hidden medical conditions, accidents from slipping on wet rock. But locals note that these explanations never satisfy the families. Many of the victims were young and healthy. Many were experienced hikers. Too many stories carry details that do not align with simple accidents. One tale told by a park ranger involves a visitor who was seen walking alone near dusk. When he did not return, search teams scoured the trail. His body was found days later in a clearing, but with no wounds, no sign of struggle, and no clear reason for his death. His face, they said, looked calm, as though he had simply laid down and surrendered to the mountain. Stories like this give fuel to older beliefs. The mountain is said to be selective, welcoming some, rejecting others. Elders say it chooses who may walk its paths, and those it does not accept are guided away, never to return. Phu Kradueng's reputation is therefore twofold: a place of awe and beauty, and a place where silence hides secrets. Travelers may climb for the sunrise views, but they do so knowing that for some, the mountain never lets them leave. Among the most unsettling cases at Phu Kradueng are those of hikers who vanish without a trace. Unlike deaths where a body is recovered, these disappearances leave families with only questions and sleepless nights. One such case involved a young woman who had climbed with a group of friends. They camped together near the plateau, sharing stories beneath the stars. At dawn, she was gone. Her belongings were left neatly arranged inside the tent. No signs of struggle, no footprints leading away. For days, search teams combed the plateau, shouting her name into the forest. Dogs caught no scent. The forest gave back nothing. To this day, she has never been found. Another case often retold by locals is that of a school teacher who disappeared while hiking alone. He was seen by others during the ascent, moving steadily, even exchanging smiles and words of encouragement with strangers along the trail. But somewhere between the midpoint rest area and the top, he vanished. His motorbike was still parked at the base, his name still in the visitor log. He was never recorded leaving the park. Theories range from animal attacks to crime, but none explain the neatness of the scenes. A wild predator would leave signs. A criminal would leave evidence. Instead, what remains is silence, as though the hikers stepped off the path and into another place entirely. Locals speak of the forest as alive, shifting when it wishes. They warn that if you walk alone at dusk, the trails may twist without you noticing. Some believe spirits of the mountain confuse travelers, leading them away until they are lost beyond return. Visitors have reported hearing footsteps behind them, turning only to find empty paths. Others hear their names whispered in familiar voices, luring them off course. Park rangers, though respectful of local beliefs, speak cautiously. They remind visitors that the mountain is vast, its forest dense, and its cliffs unforgiving. Yet even they admit that some disappearances remain unexplainable. The mountain keeps secrets, one ranger said quietly. Some people it accepts, others it does not. The vanishing hikers remain part of Phu Kradueng's shadow. Their faces appear on missing posters, their names whispered in prayers, their stories retold around campfires. They are reminders that beauty does not always welcome the living, and that the mountain watches with eyes unseen. Not all tragedies at Phu Kradueng involve vanishings. Some deaths are witnessed, but no less mysterious. Visitors have reported companions suddenly collapsing mid-hike, their bodies betraying them without warning. Medical teams arrive too late, unable to identify causes. Death certificates often list exhaustion or heart failure, but the families argue that their loved ones had no history of illness. One of the most haunting cases occurred during a school trip. Dozens of students and teachers made the climb, filling the trails with laughter and noise. But one boy never returned home. He was found beside a stream, lying face down in shallow water. His pack was still on his back. His clothes were dry, his face untouched. It was as though he had simply lain down and stopped. Another story involves a group of campers who slept together in a tent on the plateau. In the morning, one of them would not wake. No illness, no injury, no explanation. The others swore he had laughed and spoken normally the night before. His death remained a question that no one could answer. Locals interpret these deaths through the lens of respect. They say some visitors fail to honor the spirits when entering. Some mock the legends. Some carry arrogance. Some forget to make offerings. For those who do not show humility, the mountain may take offense. Death, they say, is not random here. It is chosen. Visitors who survive often speak of strange sensations. A sudden chill despite the heat. a feeling of being watched while resting at streams, dreams filled with faces they do not recognize. Some awaken with the sense that they are not meant to stay long. Even park rangers share stories in hushed tones. One ranger admitted to hearing voices in the night while on patrol, voices of people calling for help. But when he searched, he found nothing. Another ranger described patrolling near a waterfall and seeing a man standing at its edge. When he called out, the figure did not move. Approaching carefully, he saw the rocks were empty. The deaths in silence weigh heavily on the park's reputation. Families still climb the mountain in memory of their loved ones, leaving offerings where they were found. For some, the act is hope, that their prayers might free a restless soul. For others, it is resignation, an acceptance that the mountain chooses in ways no human can predict. Today, Phu Kradueng remains one of Thailand's most visited national parks. Families, couples, and students still make the climb each year, eager to watch the sunrise from the plateau, to feel the cool pine breeze, and to stand at the edge of cliffs that seem to touch the sky. For many, it is a place of triumph and beauty. But for those who know its stories, the climb is always edged with unease. The memory of the vanished hikers, the sudden deaths, the unanswered questions all linger in the air. The mountain is loved, but it is also feared. Some travelers say that standing on the plateau at night feels different. The stars above seem too close, the silence too deep. In that silence, some claim to hear footsteps circling their tents, though no one is there. Others say they dream of figures beckoning from the trees, figures who vanish when the dreamer wakes. The families of the missing still return, some after decades, lighting incense at the base before the climb. They ask for permission, they ask for answers, but most of all, they ask for peace. For many, the mountain has become a grave without bodies, a place where absence itself is worshipped. Locals continue to speak of Phu Kradueng as alive. They say it breathes with the wind, sees with the stars, and decides with the rivers. For them, the mysterious deaths are not random but deliberate. The mountain chooses who will remain. Some believe it keeps the pure, others that it punishes the arrogant, and still others that it simply claims those it desires. What is certain is that the mountain holds its silence. No official report can explain the missing woman whose belongings were untouched, the teacher who never returned, the boy who lay face down in shallow water. No law can account for whispers in the forest or footsteps that vanish into mist. To climb Phu Kradueng is to face beauty wrapped in mystery. It is to walk where the veil between the living and the unseen feels thin. For most, the journey ends with photographs and laughter. For some, it ends with silence and unanswered questions. And so the mountain endures, timeless and watchful. Visitors come and go, their names written in logs, their footsteps recorded in dust. But the stories remain. Stories of those who did not come down. Stories that echo in the mist at dawn, in the wind at night, in the silence beside waterfalls. Perhaps the greatest mystery is not why the deaths occur, but why the mountain inspires so many to return despite them. Phu Kradueng promises beauty, but it also demands respect. Those who forget may find themselves remembered only as whispers. The mountain waits, and it always chooses.